The illusion of democracy. Is democracy as we know it on its last leg? It's a question that echoes in the chambers of power, from Washington to Beijing, Moscow to London. Across the globe, there's a palpable sense of dissatisfaction, a feeling that the political elites no longer represent the people they claim to serve. In the midst of this turmoil, a new breed of politicians has emerged, the left-wing elites. From the cobblestone streets of Europe to the bustling metropolises of Asia, these individuals are seizing control of governments, influencing policy, and shaping the narrative through their command of media. Their rise has been meteoric, their influence, pervasive. Yet, beneath their proclamations of equality and justice, there's a growing polarization of ideologies, a widening chasm between the haves and the have-nots. It's a divide that threatens to destabilize nations and undermine the very fabric of our societies. The question remains, are these left-wing elites truly defenders of democracy, or is there a hidden agenda? The rise of left-wing elites did not happen overnight. It was a gradual process, fueled by a series of key events and figures, each contributing their own brick to the edifice of this new power structure. In the late 20th century, we saw the emergence of influential left-wing figures in various spheres of society. Academia, the arts, and politics began to be dominated by those who championed progressive ideas. But it was the dawn of the 21st century that truly marked the rise of the left-wing elites. Their ascent was accompanied by a significant shift in the media landscape. Media organizations, once the watchdogs of democracy, began to take on a different role. Rather than presenting objective facts, they increasingly served as mouthpieces for the left-wing elites. This shift was subtle, often wrapped in the language of progress and equality. But the ultimate goal was clear: control the narrative, control public opinion. Fake news became a powerful tool in this endeavor. The line between fact and fiction blurred as disinformation campaigns were employed to manipulate public sentiment. Under the guise of promoting transparency and accountability, these tactics were used to undermine opposition and consolidate power. While these tactics may seem underhanded, they were often justified under the banner of democracy. The left-wing elites claimed to be the defenders of democratic ideals, the champions of the people. But in practice, their version of democracy often involved suppressing dissenting voices and imposing their own views. In the political arena, we saw leaders, from presidents to prime ministers, adopting these tactics. They claimed to represent the will of the people, but their actions often suggested otherwise. Bureaucrats and even dictators, too, joined the chorus, using the rhetoric of democracy to mask their own power grabs. And so, with a firm grip on media and political narratives, the left-wing elites have redefined democracy for their own ends. They've built a system that serves their interests, manipulating public sentiment and suppressing opposition under the guise of democracy. But it's worth remembering that true democracy isn't about imposing one's views, but about fostering open dialogue and respect for diverse opinions. While the elites play their games, where does this leave the everyday citizen? In a world that spins on the axis of power and control, common citizens often find themselves caught in the crossfire. Struggling to make ends meet, they are left picking up the pieces of a society that is increasingly divided and polarized by political narratives. They are the ones who endure the consequences of decisions made in high towers and plush offices, decisions that rarely take into account their daily struggles and realities. These citizens, the heart and soul of every nation, are the ones who are trying their best to see through the smokescreen of lies spun by politicians and echoed by mainstream media. They are the ones who question, who probe, and who seek the truth in an era where truth seems to have lost its meaning. Yet, their voices are often drowned out in the cacophony of political propaganda and sensationalism. Even when they come together, when they gather their strength and resources to organize against the system, they find themselves targeted. The judiciary, instead of serving as a beacon of justice and fairness, often steps in to protect the system. It is a system that seems to be more interested in self-preservation than in serving the people it was created to protect. The common citizen, thus, finds themselves in a precarious position. They are caught in a spider web of political machinations, their rights and freedoms entangled in the sticky threads of power and control. They are the ones who bear the burden of broken promises and failed policies. They are the ones who pay the price for the ambitions of the elites. Yet, despite these struggles, the spirit of the common citizen remains unbroken. They continue to hope, to dream, and to fight for a world that respects their rights, recognizes their struggles, and values their contributions. Caught in a system rigged against them, the common citizens are left to bear the brunt of these political machinations. But history has shown us that no tyranny can last forever. In the annals of history, we find countless examples of the inevitable downfall of tyrants. From the French Revolution, where the monarchy's iron grip was overthrown by a public yearning for liberty, to the fall of the Berlin Wall, a symbol of oppressive control that crumbled under the weight of the people's desire for freedom. These moments stand as testament to the indomitable spirit of the individual and their innate thirst for freedom. Tyranny, no matter how shrouded in the guise of democracy, is always exposed in the fullness of time. The bright light of truth shines through the murkiness of deceit, revealing the machinations of those who seek to impose their views and quash dissent. And when that light shines, the people rise. Freedom is not a construct of human institutions, it is a God-given right. An intrinsic aspect of our very being that cannot be stripped away. It is the birthright of every individual, the ultimate minority, against the overwhelming force of the majority. And yet, the path to freedom is not without its trials. It demands courage, tenacity, and the willingness to stand against the tide. Those who choose not to engage, who opt for the comfort of silence over the challenge of speaking out, will pay a price. The cost of inaction, of a lack of courage, is the erosion of freedom itself. But let us not despair, for the human spirit is resilient. It is in our very nature to strive for freedom, to resist the chains of tyranny. And so, the cycle continues. Tyrants rise, but they also fall. And each time they do, the people are there, ready to reclaim their freedom. The journey is long, the road fraught with obstacles. But the destination is clear. Freedom is not just a destination, it is a journey, a constant struggle that defines us as human beings. And that struggle is worth every hardship, every challenge, because the triumph of freedom over tyranny is a testament to the indomitable human spirit. Freedom is inevitable, and the individual, the ultimate minority, will rise to reclaim it.